Snap.
Welcome back.
Hi. Oh, thank God I can relax. I'm
Something
really
new.
hot. It's just like,
The
and
weather
it's not
has been-
menopause. Just really hot. It's like a hot day. I mean, thank God for Zimmerman. If anyone knows how to design for hot weather, it's an Australian.
Absolutely. Nice light fabric. Same thing
Yeah,
today.
and this is like, I shop my closet. This is from last year. Ooh, don't tell anyone.
Past season.
Past season, but I have a nice new blue version for this season. No, I love this. It's so comfy and it's
Yeah,
just
if
great
you want your
fabric.
own, you can come get it.
Yeah. Oh, look, we match.
little light cotton today too. This is an old Dolce piece.
Why are
though.
we all like sitting above? I guess we're feeling. Okay, I guess we're feeling like optimistic. We're here perched on the couch
Yeah.
instead of sitting on the couch.
It's elevated.
Elevated is good for me. I'm short, so anything elevated works for me.
So, talking about the hot weather, how do you dress when it's 30 degrees? What do you gravitate towards? What are your tips?
Fabric. I have to wear the right fabric. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously something cotton, linen.
Anything natural fiber.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't mean that I won't mix like a gauze with a silk. But the fabric has to be, or the style has to be lightweight or feel that it breathes, because you don't want anything too tight when it's hot. I mean, this is great because it's strapless, right?
Yeah.
I can still wear
I could
it.
have used like a more open armhole today.
Well, you
but
could have
that's
worn a
fine.
tank, right? Show
It's all
off
good. I
all
walked
that
here though.
like body that you're like working on.
There's
huh?
not much there. I'm sure when you're getting the light through, you can see like how. Anyway.
You got to work on it, Jonathan. You got to work.
I know.
That.
I need to go to the gym.
You know, it's got to be fabulous, like from the inside out, man. I am working out, but my trainer's been away, so I'm not going to flex any muscle. But I will be back boxing this week,
Yeah.
so love my boxing.
I'm gonna have to go with Miguel to yoga sometime, but. We'll
Yeah,
see.
I can't do yoga.
No?
No.
Why not?
I can't sit still that long, and I need more action. Sorry, it's just like...
It is. It's very like.
It's just not my thing.
Calm.
But I will be trying it actually. I mean, regardless, I have signed up to do some yoga this summer. It might calm me down, and it's always good to try something completely different that will balance your personality. The same way clothing can balance your personality, right? Clothing
Absolutely.
can balance the, whatever, right clothing balances the heat of the weather. And today is just really hot, so
Yeah.
stay cool.
Light colors, light materials. All those things are good.
Well, you could always still wear black. There's nothing wrong with dark colors. It's just, it's more.
Well, if you want to roast.
Well, you can
It's
carry an
linen,
umbrella.
maybe.
And you can pretend you're in Shanghai.
Yeah, I guess.
It's all the state. It's all a mental state anyway. But definitely, you want to dress for the weather conditions. Absolutely, no heavy knits when it's 40 degrees outside.
Have you always respected these rules? What about when you were like a teenager?
Oh.
Because I know, like, I've been now I understand. Lisa is always like, that's not the right material for this weather, or she'll say like, that's a wool, you need to put that away,
Well, that's because I grew up in Europe, and in Europe, as a child, you're trained. There's more of a textile training, and not just a dress code training.
That's
You
fair.
learn as a young child that you wear like a wool singlet in the winter and a cotton one in the summer. Like, it's all about your undergarments and then your clothing and the right shoe. And it's like you don't go barefoot to the beach like I would in Australia. You have to wear like a special sandal that you wear on the beach.
Really?
It's like, oh my God, there's so many rules. It's not as, I mean, I guess today it's just a lot more relaxed, but when I grew up, we had definite rules. Like, you always had a new suit for Easter, and fabrics were definitely a big part of what you put in your wardrobe at what, specific season.
Yeah.
Like, I would never have a cashmere sweater hanging in my wardrobe in the summer.
Yeah,
Whereas now
and
I go into a lot of wardrobes and I find that everything's a little mixed. Yes, transitional is great, and you want to have certain items that can be mixed in and out of seasons because our weather conditions are changing. like rapidly.
Oh my
But
gosh,
at
it was
the
like
same
suddenly
time,
summer this year.
but look. I mean, in Melbourne, when I grew up, you go out in a bikini and you go home in a fur coat. Like it was just crazy sometimes the weather patterns. But I think today, like yeah, transitional wardrobe. But you need to know that certain fabrications just do not look right for a particular season. So even if you might feel that they're right, if you get cold in the summer because of air conditioning or you tend to just, the heat doesn't affect you, then get like a great viscose cashmere blend. You know, like I'm not saying don't gravitate towards certain yarns, but lighten up the load a little. And also know how to layer, because today I think layering is a big part of our wardrobe.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need to layer in terms of not just the weather conditions, but also our conditions at work or at home. You know, we're in very cool temperature if we go to a mall, and then it's very hot outside. So
Yeah.
just learning how to layer those pieces and still look effortless, that's the trick.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I've definitely learned from you is like fabrics and season. And I've gotten good at actually turning over my wardrobe. So like when the hot weather hits, I put away those sort of materials
Or you
that
can
don't
even
work.
prep.
And
You can have it like so that there's a transitional,
true.
right?
But like then it also makes the changing season sort of more special because you get to pull out all of these things again that you sort of forgot about or kind of like
So
stashed
yeah,
away
before
for a
you
little
go
bit.
shopping, like make sure that you know what's in your wardrobe.
Yes.
And that's also, I don't know, like if you're not, you need to prep something. You need to always spend some time in order to be fabulously fashionable.
Of course. So I want to go back to like talking about teenage years, Lisa. What was she
I was
like what did you dress like?
well, I mean, for me, like clothing is like an expression. It's like the artistic side of me is expressed through my clothing, and I always did that even as a teenager. I never liked to be defined by a look, which, you know, unfortunately today a lot of brands are defining a lot of us, and not in a good way. I don't want someone to think that I'm particularly inclined to wear a certain brand.
Yeah.
I think it's great to be open and really play. I was obviously, you know, growing up in Italy, I was also socially and politically motivated, and my clothing would follow suit. So,
What do you mean by that?
well, if I was like hanging out with the socialist, communists, peers, I would dress down. I wouldn't be going in my Versace jacket with my 9-inch heels that I would wear when I was hanging out at the other side of the piazza. Sorry, those were just like, we had comitiva, sort of different groups, and it was definitely a lot more playful. Today in North America, I saw it with my kids growing up, there was this like incline to follow a certain, like a leader or like a group. Like Abercrombie was really big, and then Hollister. I never really
Guilty.
had that growing up. There wasn't such a strong presence. It was more like a mood, like I don't know, like a disco mood was in, and then if it wasn't the disco mood, it was kind of like the alternative mood. But there wasn't like a brand that we all gravitated towards.
Yeah.
It wasn't as commercialized as it is here. But I think it's changing here. I don't see young kids lining up like they used to at certain stores, and I think that they're more expressive.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like getting better. I mean, when I was in high school, I definitely always wore Abercrombie. I always wore Hollister,
You wanted to fit in too.
American
You were in a
Eagle.
small town.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I grew up in like a rural town in Woodstock where people would drive trailers to school and
There
like
is
park
hope.
it in
See?
the parking
There is
lot.
hope.
And for me, like clothing was not about sort of trying to fit into like, well, I guess it was fitting
maybe
in.
you didn't want to
but
stand
it
out.
was I didn't want to stand out. So I sort of like always used clothing as like kind of a shield in that sense, because I didn't want to be picked on for like not wearing the brand that everyone else was wearing.
Well,
I sort
had
of felt
the
like
opposite,
yeah.
I guess then.
But I mean, we're also total opposites. I mean, like
We are.
slightly
Okay.
different, like, you know.
Well, I was always eccentric, and I guess that hasn't changed. I mean, I would wear a veil to work in Milan when I was like 21. So, I don't even know how I was still, or how I kept my employment in those days. But I was working in fashion, so I guess it was just being eccentric.
Yeah, it could
fashionable.
still
Right.
work. And I mean, when I moved here to the city,
Oh yeah, how was
it
that?
definitely. Well, I met this awesome guy, Miles Sexton, and like he's a great makeup artist. If you ever,
He's very eccentric
yeah,
though.
and that's what I mean. Miles was the first person to sort of like put me into these unusual clothes and
Yeah,
like sort of
like-
give me an appreciation for going against the flow. And for the first little while,
And
when
was
I
that
was
just
here,
him?
like,
Was that like his persona? Like just.
oh yeah,
'Cause didn't he come
Miles.
from a small town too?
Yeah, he's from. We're actually
Oh.
both from the East Coast. He's from Halifax, and I'm from
My God.
Corner Brook. And I don't know, it was inspiring at the time, like to sort of. Miles was a shapeshifter. He could always like. He would have a totally different look from one week to the next, and
Oh,
we
I
were
was
like
like
total
that.
club
What do you
kids.
call that?
A shapeshifter, chameleon.
Oh, I'm a shapeshifter. Okay. Oh, never
Yeah.
heard that term.
And like, I don't know, it sort of opened me up, and my parents at home seeing stuff on Facebook were like, oh my god, what is he doing? He's wearing makeup. What's
That's
going
nothing
on?
because my parents actually had a conversation with me. I put my brother in a skirt by John Richmond, and I remember my father actually pulling me aside after dinner and saying, "You're the eldest, and definitely not influencing your young brothers in the right direction." And I was like, I don't understand what's so crazy. It's just like skirts for boys and girls. And my parents were like, okay, like, this is not a good idea.
Yeah, no, there's still like, even today, there's some shapes I wear, like that Marquise that I wore to CAFA. My
Mhm.
mom sort of gave a strange comment
Why?
on
Because it has a
Facebook,
huge
and
hole
this little
in
like
the middle
cutout
of the
here.
shirt.
But it's my only curve, so I have to show it
Your
off.
curve?
That's the only one, just there.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, definitely. You look
Moving
very
on.
curvaceous in that
Moving
shirt.
on.
Very curvaceous. Yes, let's move on.
Anything
So-
else we should talk about before we leave you guys alone until next Thursday?
Well, I think now that we're starting to get comfortable, so we were sitting on the couch, now we've elevated ourselves. Eventually we'll be off the couch and doing things. So stay
Stay tuned.
tuned. We're just like warming up